What's up everybody, it's me E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews. After watching the Russo Brothers Q&A on Avengers Infinity War, something really interesting came up. The question was basically what happened to the huge wound in Thanos' chest left by Stormbreaker. 1 minute it's there and by the end of the movie it's gone. Now there have been a number of different theories and ideas about this, but this Q&A was probably, to my knowledge, the first time that the Russo brothers actually addressed this issue. What's interesting is that this moment in question with Thanos' wound, it goes by so fast that it's really easy to miss. So today I'm going to break that scene down for you all in detail and point out what a number of people may have missed. Then I'm going to give you my thoughts on what may have actually happened during that scene. And then I'll tell you why the Russo brothers' very mysterious answer was a big clue for Avengers Endgame. Coming up next. As I mentioned earlier, the Russo brothers held a Q&A where they took questions from fans. Keep in mind that at the beginning of the Q&A, the Russo brothers had only one major rule. That rule was to not ask any questions about Avengers Endgame or the upcoming trailer at that time. Even if the question might have potentially ruined Avengers Endgame, the Russo brothers were just not having it. Anyway, one fan had a great question where he asked about the wound in Thanos' chest and what was up with all that. The Russo brothers gave this very interesting response. Check it out.
At the end of the movie, we see Thanos on the farm. Very obviously his arm is screwed up, but it seems like his chest is fine. So I'm trying to figure out how much. Stormbreaker clearly jacked him up bad. He looked. So how much time had passed from the actual snap to him chilling on the farm? Is that a?
Are you close to a buzzer, or is this stuff you can answer?
I just gave my answer. That was a great question. Thank you.
Now, given their lack of a real substantive response, I do believe that the answer to what happened to Thanos' chest wound is a potential spoiler for Avengers Endgame. The Russo brothers clearly didn't want to answer the question in order to spoil the next Avengers movie. Well, that's the only logical conclusion I can think of anyway. So it would appear that if we can answer the question about Thanos' chest wound, then we'll have a little bit more insight for Avengers Endgame. So just to make sure we're all on the same page, let's go over the scene in question step by step. Alright, Thanos took a huge, almost life-threatening strike from Stormbreaker in Avengers Infinity War. This wound was so deep that Thor's massive axe was stuck in Thanos' chest. Plus, Thanos is not wearing his full armor here either, which means that Thor's strike is really doing some serious damage to Thanos. After this strike, we all know what happens. Thanos taunts Thor right back by telling him he should have gone for the head. And then Thanos killed half of the population of all living things in the universe with the snap of his fingers. Here's where things get a little bit more tricky. After the snap, Thanos is immediately transported to the Soul Stone. The very first thing he notices is that the big wound from Stormbreaker is gone. That's why he's looking down at his chest and touching it. But we also notice that the gauntlet itself is gone from his left hand too. So this is probably something like maybe an astral projection of himself or his soul talking to Gamora's soul within the Soul Stone. Anyway, after catching up with Gamora, we see that the Infinity Gauntlet has been deep fried and it's smoking hot. We also see that Thanos' arm is jacked up as a result of the snap. And more importantly, Stormbreaker is still lodged deep into his chest. I mean, look at this wound. It goes up to almost his neckline. And dare I say, it looks like a pretty fatal wound. So I know some of you can get kind of impatient, so let me just come right out and tell you what I think Thanos did right after getting struck by Stormbreaker. Simply put, I believe that Thanos used multiple Infinity Stones in order to heal himself. Because like I said, that wound was super deep from Stormbreaker, and I'm sure Thanos would have died eventually from it had he not used the stones to heal himself. Now, if you're wondering when and how did Thanos do this, don't feel bad because it did happen really fast. A lot of people easily miss this. Heck, I only found it by accident myself. So let me break this scene down and show you exactly why I believe that Thanos used multiple Infinity Stones during this scene. First, let me remind everyone that there are two rules to using the Infinity Gauntlet in the MCU. First rule is that you have to make a fist. Second rule is that when the stones are activated, they will glow. we see that Thanos escaped the scene by teleporting out of there. This is nothing new because we've seen him do this before with the Space Stone a number of times. But why is this time any different than the other times Thanos has teleported away? Easy. When we look at the other times Thanos teleports to another location, we can see that he uses the blue Space Stone to do so. Now that's really easy to recognize given the fact that only the blue stone lights up when he's using the teleportation. However, right after getting hit by Stormbreaker, Thanos is clearly using more than just the Space Stone here. Pay attention to this point right here where the stones are not activated, and at this point, they are. You can see more than one stone lit up despite some of the damage that's obviously on the gauntlet. Pay close attention to Thanos' chest. This is probably the biggest hint that suggests that multiple stones are at work. Some people thought that Thanos might have used only the Time Stone to heal himself. Others may have thought that he only used the Reality Stone. Well, I'd like to demonstrate the fact that he used multiple Infinity Stones at once. Look at the colors at work on his chest. You see a bit of green, blue, red, and maybe even a little orange and yellow in there. At first I thought that this color mix was from Stormbreaker. During the clash between Stormbreaker and the Gauntlet, there was a flash of white light that came about. But seeing as though some of the stones are lit up here, I'm more inclined to believe that these are the effects of a couple of Infinity Stones healing Thanos' wound. Another clue to suggest that multiple stones are working is to look at what happened when Thanos acquired the final Infinity Stone from Vision. A very similar electrical array of colors covered his body that we also see at work for just a brief time before he teleports away. So we can break this down pretty easily. I would imagine that the Soul Stone would be used here to keep Thanos' soul from leaving his body due to the fatal strike from Stormbreaker. You'd have the blue Space Stone activated to push Stormbreaker out of his chest and open a portal for his escape. The Time Stone could be used to speed up the healing process of his physical wound, and maybe the Reality Stone was used to repair the damage to his clothing. With all those things at play, we see that when Thanos is back on his planet, which we'll call Titan 2, his clothing and the wound are all completely healed. An interesting question does come up though about the wound left from the snap. We see Thanos still has a messed up arm and what looks like a scar going up to his neck. Why wasn't that healed if he was able to use the stones to heal himself? Well, I have two guesses about this. My first guess is that there's a possibility that he's in a weakened condition. Thanos could only manage to use the stones to heal the most important injuries to his body. So with the damage he took from doing the snap, he's probably not strong enough to do any more powerful acts with the stones on a large scale. And if that's the case, then healing his arm would just be too much for him to do in his current condition. Although brief, it did appear in the Endgame trailer that Thanos still had a bit of a limp as he walked through the fields. So again, maybe Thanos only had enough energy or power to heal the most serious wound rather than completely healing himself altogether. Now my second guess as to why his arm is still damaged is that Thanos probably wanted to leave it that way as a reminder of his great sacrifice. He is a battle-tested warrior, so maybe this would serve as his war wound for him to carry around. You guys let me know what you think in the comments below about why you think he still has this wound on his arm and neck. Okay, with all that said, I think what this interesting piece of information tells us is that in Avengers Endgame, Thanos is still going to be a formidable threat. Although the gauntlet is fried, it clearly still works. I think that's why the Russo brothers didn't want to answer this question directly when it was brought up. By them not answering the reason why Thanos' chest is healed is obviously a big hint that it's going to be important for Avengers Endgame. The gauntlet and the stones are not done yet. Okay, that's all I've got for today. What did you all think about this interesting reveal in Avengers Infinity War? And do you think it's important for Avengers Endgame? Let's talk about it in the comments below. I'll do my best to check out the comments and respond as much as I can. Anyway, as you all know, I can always be wrong about these things, but it's still fun to talk about them and speculate. Either way, I'm super excited to see Avengers Endgame as much as I'm sure you all are too. With that, thank you all for joining me today. I'm super appreciative of all of you guys taking the time to watch my video. If you did enjoy it, please share it with your friends. I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. If you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it.